This video is not intended for children. Viewer discretion is advised.
If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. How is everyone doing out there tonight? Mark the Infinitely Tired, Darth Hastard, Lori Roberts, the Destructor, Jedi Bill 797, Heiress of Chaos, the Battle Angel is here, Robert Pearson, Mexican Iron Man, holy shit, Tabasco truck with Cholula sauce is here. May your lightsabers glisten with these salsa treats. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Crimson Mist, good evening. Good evening, Purple Lady. Good evening, Purple Lady. The Purple Valkyrie is here. How are you doing, Purple? Guys, how is everyone doing this evening? You know what? Yes, I played the old intro, the old morning intro. But I have not been able to redo the old Midnights of Madness and turn it into 7 Kinds of Mischief yet. So, Trey from Max World Entertainment is here. Greetings, sir. Greetings, program. How are you doing, brother? And of course, I am joined tonight with Doctor and world-renowned author, Adega Outlaw. How are you doing, brother?
I am doing very good.
Yeah,
Hello, everybody. It's another fun Thursday. A little earlier, but excited to be here as always.
A little earlier. I hope everybody is liking the new time. I know some of the notifications might not have gone out because I did 2 test streams earlier, and I know that can screw shit up. So we'll see. And I uploaded a video, so God knows if we're gonna have a full house tonight. I know. I'm already getting messages saying, "Hey, I didn't get a notification." So hopefully you all did. And if
Go post it everywhere. Put it on your Twitter.
I got it on Twitter. I got it up. And we're going. So obviously we have our pantheons up. I have the demigod Achilles and Adega. Who do you got up there?
Odysseus.
Hell yeah, Odysseus.
The man whom a god tried to destroy.
Yes. And why did he do that? I wonder.
Well, we will have to look that up.
We will.
Did you want to start with Odysseus?
Let's start with Odysseus, brother.
All right. Well, you're going to have to be patient with me. My vision isn't what it used to be. Neither is my memory. There was actually several movies about this. He was legendary. One of the bigwigs. We're going to go over several of the bigwigs and one lady as well. But oh, geez. I'm trying to figure out who exactly his he married Penelope. And he was trying his best to stay out of everyone's way. He just loved her, loved his kid, trying to get out of everyone's way, not get into the Trojan War or anything, but he, just like Achilles, got drug in. The gods were playing games with him.
Yep, the gods were playing games. And it was all about basically Achilles didn't really care. I mean, Achilles was all in it for the fight. Achilles could not be beat. He was all in it for the fight. Odysseus didn't even want to go to Troy, but he had to. Wasn't he somehow he owed Agamemnon?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember exactly what it is. I'm looking it up. One thing that's going to show up again, we're going to do this a couple times, but Odysseus was actually part of the boar hunting trip, and that'll come up again later. We'll talk about that when we come to Atlanta and her story. He was one of the suitors of Helen. That's where he started getting into trouble. However, he was undoubtedly the most reluctant among them, not only because he was reasonably sure that, I can never pronounce this guy's name, he was trying to suit Helen, and there was a guy, was Menelaus. I can't pronounce the guy's name. I'm very sorry. It's Greek to me. And he thought for sure he was going to be the one, but as beautiful as Helen was, he was much more profoundly smitten by his cousin Penelope, and that's the one he went with. Let's keep going here. It's been a few days since I read these. You guys have to forgive me. You guys know the story about, I'm trying to remember how he got kicked out. Dang it. This is not going to be fun for me this evening, folks. Actually, it is. I love being embarrassed, so this is awesome. After marrying Penelope, Odysseus took her to Ithaca, where the couple lived a happy life and made even happier after the birth of their son, more Greek words, Telemachus. You guys can pronounce it better than I can. However, while the boy was still a baby, Helen was abducted by the Prince of Paris of Troy. Sorry. Again, my vision. Calling upon the oath sworn by Helen's suitors, Menelaus summoned all of them to help him in his quest to bring her back. Helen of Troy, we know that, and we're going to get into Achilles about that too. Ironically, since he had been the one to propose the oath, wow, okay. I am having trouble here. Please make fun of me at your whim. I enjoy it. Of course, Odysseus didn't want to join the expedition, and he had a good reason for it. The seer, this is where it was. This is what I was looking for. The seer Helios had informed him that if he participated, it would take him a long time to return home. And that's where we know about him being away for 10 years. So he declined and feigned madness. This was a funny part. By harnessing a donkey and an ox to a plow and sowing salt in the field. Polydamas, who was one of the men sent to recruit Odysseus from Ithaca, did not believe the hero one bit. In order to test his sanity, he put Telemachus in front of the plow. That's his son. Odysseus immediately changed course, thus exposing the plan, or his plan. Odysseus never forgave Palladius for this and spent many an hour planning his revenge. So that's how he got sucked into the Trojan War. And being sucked into the Trojan War, he would have to spend the Odyssey of 10 years trying to get home.
And that happened because of a storm, right?
Well, partly. He had an enemy in one of the gods. And
he pissed off Poseidon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he had to take a boat home.
Right. And he faced a ton of challenges. We know it was so much about him and so much about Achilles. It's like going back to school trying to remember all this.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even remember. I thought for a minute it was Zeus, but I was like, no, it was Poseidon, because he was traveling. There was 12 ships in his fleet, and he was traveling across the ocean from Troy to get back home. And of course, he pisses off Poseidon, and that's all she wrote. 10 years lost on the ocean. I think him and his men went up against a Cyclops. Him and his men went up against what they called Lumias.
Yep.
The singers, the ones that would they would draw, like they were like sirens. They would draw a ship in with their singing, and then the ship would crash against rocks.
Right.
And she would eat the survivors.
It's a pretty terrible way to go. Okay. When we go to his biggest thing, this is his biggest contribution to the Trojan War. His most notable contribution to the successful conclusion of the Trojan War was devising the strategy to end the decades-long war. The Greeks finally managed to enter Troy. You know how he did it. They did it with the Trojan horse. Well, basically what the Trojan horse was, parts of a ship. They sent the whole fleet away to deceive Troy and let the big Trojan horse. And they didn't exactly accept it right away. They were, it's been years that they've been fighting these guys. But finally they did let it in. That was Odysseus's plan. Let's see.
I didn't know that was his plan.
Yeah.
I thought that was Agamemnon who came up with that.
No.
Okay.
Not according to my source. I mean, when it comes to Greek, you're going to find different things in different places. And sometimes, like tonight, that's part of the reason why I'm confused. Because I try and go, like I said before, to the original Greek, but I can get different versions of things, and it's quite confusing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Something that most people don't know, Odysseus was sometimes unreasonably cruel towards his enemies, which is why, as much as he was adored by the Greeks, he was reviled by the Romans, who knew him as Ulysses and considered themselves Trojan descendants. Certainly Odysseus, most victorious act just after Troy had fallen, or most vicious act after Troy had fallen, fearing some kind of virtuous future retribution. Sorry, my glasses are not with me, and I'm not exactly well-sighted half the time. He urged for the death of Astyanax, another Greek name, Hector's little boy. Some even say that it was Odysseus himself who killed Astyanax, possibly throwing the infant from Troy's walls. Why he chose to do that, I have no idea. It just, they say when he was a victor, he was pretty brutal.
Well, even people he knew. One of the stories I remember was when he eventually makes it home, someone recognizes him, and it's the housekeeper, and she recognizes him when no one else has yet, because no one knows he's back, and he threatens to kill her. He's like, "You say a damn word of this to anybody, I'll slit your throat. I'll kill you." It's his housekeeper. He knew her for years before he left. She was still alive when he got back, and he immediately threatens to kill her if she says anything.
Right. Oh, it's Aulus. That's the one that you were talking about. When they ran into the Cyclops, took care of him, and that's why. Let's see. That's what pissed Poseidon off, is because what they did to the Cyclops. The ships then reached the island of the god of the winds, Aulus, who welcomes them warmly and harbors them for a month. At the end of it, so as to aid Odysseus, I guess Aulus is different. On the journey, Aulus puts all the winds except for the west wind in a leather bag and gives the bag to Odysseus. During the next 9 days, the west wind steers the ships gently all the way to Ithaca. I guess that's the end of the trip. However, on the 10th day, just before they reach the shore, Odysseus falls asleep. Thinking it contains gold, his men steal the leather bag and open it, thus releasing all of the winds at once. The ships are violently blown back to the island of Aulus, where, realizing that Odysseus must be cursed, the gods must have cursed the gods of the winds. Oh gosh, real fun. Please forgive me. She refuses to help them again. So his moron crew decided they were going to open up this bag that got him all the way home, and nope.
Nope, didn't happen.
Oh, let's see. He had trouble with the Lestigorians, the Circle, or Circe.
Yep, the Isle of Circe. Yep.
Right. He had a trip to the underworld. I think, actually, let me see. There is a story where he actually meets, I think there's someone that's stuck in the underworld. One of the heroes. I can't remember if it was Achilles or Hercules.
I think it was Hercules, even though Achilles died in Troy. I'm pretty sure it was Hercules that he met.
Right, because the saying goes that he would have spent one day above ground than 1,000 years in Hades, and be a pauper above ground because how miserable it was. Because Hercules was a ruler of, he was the stud of studs.
Yeah. And the way Hercules died was completely messed up.
Right.
The way he got to the underworld.
Right. Now, you guys have probably seen, there's been several different versions of the Odyssey. And when Odysseus reaches home, and like Loki was saying, that's quite I can't remember the most recent one, but the way they portrayed it was awesome. And he had them do the archery test.
Yep. He had to do the archery test and that was in the Iliad too. He had to string a bow and shoot it through, I think, like a dozen axe handles. The arrow had to actually go through an axe handle because he was like the greatest archer at the time. There wasn't an archer that could touch him. So the test, after being gone for 20 years, was he had to string the bow and he had to shoot it through, I think, a dozen axe handles. And
I loved how the movie depicted where they just locked everyone in. His son barred the doors, and yeah, it was fun.
And everybody went before him. It's like everybody had a chance to do it, and he came forward and said, "No, I'm going to do it." And they allowed it. I forget why they were originally going to deny him the ability.
He looked like a bum.
Yeah.
He was in disguise, and they thought, well, this is someone not worthy of Penelope. Why should he be fighting? We've got lands, we've got money. This guy's just a bum.
No, Darth Haster. Heracles and Hercules are the same person.
Yep.
It's just all dependent on how you want to say their name.
Most of the Greeks go by Heracles. The rest of us do Hercules.
Yep.
But when the time came, this time he shot the arrow, and they all recognized, wait, you know what? We screwed the pooch. And they didn't get out of that room alive. He took them all down because they were all a bunch of usurpers trying to steal his wife and property.
Yep. They all wanted his land, his titles, his property, and his wife. Athena, RR. There you go. I forgot about that. Athena disguised him as a bum. I forgot about that.
Well, I appreciate the chat. Trust me, tonight I appreciate the chat. It's been a rough week. My computer's been down. Like I said, I can't see right now, so this is fun.
Well, heck, I was having tech difficulties. I couldn't get on till like almost 6:15 and get this up here.
Right. Okay, well, I want to switch if that's okay.
Yeah.
Because we were just talking about the boar hunt. And we haven't done too many, we did there's only going to be one this week when it comes to women. There are several, and I only had a chance to study one of them. And I did it because I like the name Atlanta. And plus, I didn't know who she was. Well, she was born to just regular people. There were no gods involved. And it was a she, and her dad was a bigot. A misogynist first class, and said, I don't want a girl, and pitched her out into the forest. Well, some bear said, hey, you know what? I like this kid. We're going to raise it. So she was raised by a bear. And she grew up learning different things from different people, but, she survived in the wilderness. But when she became older, she was an incredible hunter. She gained a lot of strength from the bear, and who knows where she got her superhuman speed, but she could run like crazy. Well, she decided to enter that boar hunt that we talked about with Odysseus. There's a lot of heroes that were in that bear hunt.
Yeah.
And she beat them all, even Odysseus. And the people were pissed. They said, we can't be beat by a woman. There's no way. And finally, I think it was actually Odysseus himself who stood up for her and said, no, she's good to go. Well, her dad, the one that threw her to the bears, saw this and said, "You know what? You're pretty good. I'm going to accept you back home." Why she went back was, the way it's said in the story is that she didn't want to lose the chance at having a family. Her dad, her mom, the association of things, instead of being out in the wilderness and, hunting on her own. And you'd think most common people would not want to be part of that, but that's exactly what she did. And her dad, being the dad, said, "Well, we got to marry you off. You're just a woman. You need a man." And she wasn't real excited about it. So she decided, "Yeah, that's fine, Dad. But if you're going to marry me off, I get to choose which one it is. And I got to set some ground rules." And he said, "That's fine." Well, the ground rules were that they had to beat her in a foot race.
Hi.
And the thing about the foot race is, she said, "If you lose, I will remove your head." And she certainly removed a lot of heads. Well, let me see if I can find the guy's name. There was one guy who fell in love with her and decided to ask Athena for help. Of course, Athena always likes to help these people.
Oh, yeah.
At least nice people. He's got one of those Greek names that I can't pronounce, but I'm going to certainly try. Meleager. I can do that one. Meleager. Meleager. Either way, this is where the story, I think, originated from the tortoise and the hare, because he knew he was going to lose, and he prayed to Athena, and Athena said, "Well, yeah, I'll help you out, but you got to do a sacrifice for me." And he said, "Sure, what the heck, I'll do it." So she gave him 3 golden apples, and the race started, and she gave everybody a head start. She was that fast, and sometimes she'd give him half the race before she let loose and started catching up to him. Well, he was running along, and she caught up to him, and he took one of these golden apples and pitched it in front of her, and she saw the golden apple and thought, "Whoa, this is cool. So I got plenty of time." She stopped and checked out the apple and admired it, and Meleager just kept on running. Well, she caught up again, of course, and he pitched another apple. He's got one left. She stopped, grabbed the apple, think, "Oh, okay, I got these 2 golden apples. I'm doing good." They get towards the finish line. She's booking along. She's going to beat him, and he pitches the last one, and she loses. The tortoise and the hare. You get sidetracked, and so they're doing their thing. She figured, I guess he's not that bad. So they're kind of happy together for a while, and they're walking along into Zeus's temple, and Athena was not happy because Meleager never did do the sacrifice. So maybe that's where Melingerer came from, now that I think about it.
That is very possible. A lot of the little sayings can be traced back.
Yeah, the faker.
Yeah.
Because in medical, malingerer means someone who's faking a injury or illness so they can get out of work or what have you. And then we got all kinds of tests to find the liars. But she assumed that he was worthless, and so instead of punishing them too harshly, what she did was, when they were in the temple of Zeus, she made them go at it. So they just looked at each other and said, "Okay, it's time. Let's lift up those togas and go at it." So they're going at it in Zeus's temple, and of course he wasn't real happy about them defiling his temple with their sex acts in there.
No, that's a him only thing.
Right.
You can do that, but nobody else can.
So, in an act of, in some ways, it depends on how you look at it. He turned them both into lions. And you would think, well, maybe that's not that bad. But in ancient Greek, they thought that lions only bred with leopards. So not only were they no longer human, but they could no longer be together. So that was Atlanta. She was awesome, and she got used by a man and cursed. Another Greek tragedy.
Another Greek tragedy, but she hunted down the boar.
Yeah, she did. Yep. She was awesome.
Absolutely awesome. And of course, the boar was sent. Wasn't it Artemis? Was it Artemis that sent the boar? Yes, it was Artemis to ravage the region of Caledon because its king failed to honor her and his rights. You know what? That's it. That's something we keep coming upon as we're doing this, as we've been talking about this the last couple of weeks. It's always a slight, isn't it? That just sets things off. It's always well, you didn't honor me, or you didn't do this, or you didn't do that, and it just screws everybody.
They're very unforgiving. One offense and boom.
And Eris of Chaos says Zeus got offended over sex. A bit hypocritical coming from a guy who would have slept with a damn rock.
Or turn himself into one so he could do it.
Yeah, or turn himself into one. Yeah.
Right.
I'm a pony.
Yeah, but these were just two regular humans that got caught up,
And another tragedy.
Right.
It's just, okay, you get the Iliad. We talked about the Iliad. We talked about the Titans. We talked about the Olympians and how, they're just like banging everything, even their siblings. And then two people just can't be happy. So Greek tragedies, all of them Greek tragedies. Every single one of them. So let's talk about Achilles, man. Achilles was always one of my favorites. We'll hit the big guy at the end here. We'll hit the big guy. We'll hit Hercules at the end here. But Achilles can't be killed, right? Cannot be harmed.
Right. Now, at his birth, he had two interlinking prophecies. You guys know these because the movie, Loki and I were talking about this. The movie actually kind of does not too bad justice of the whole story. The prophecies involve his mother and another one about him. And the thing is if, let's see how it goes. She made him all but invulnerable by dipping him in the river Styx, of course, by his Achilles. It's where we get the Achilles heel from. The curses were he would die as a hero or live a quiet, peaceful life. And a long, quiet, peaceful life. And all depended on who you wanted to talk to back in the Greek times. Sometimes a quiet, peaceful life wasn't bad. And sometimes being a hero was worth the early death. So he was caught in between the two worlds.
And I did love how they did that in the movie where he is, I think it's by Hera. I could be wrong, though. If I'm wrong, guys, tell me. If it's not Hera, then it had to be Athena. He's told, if you go to Troy, your name will be immortal amongst history. If you don't, then you'll die out in the middle of nowhere. You'll grow old and die out in the middle of nowhere. But if you go to Troy, you're gonna die. But everyone will know you forever till the end of time. They will know the name Achilles. So he goes to Troy, and he ends up fighting Hector outside of the city gates, and has a fight to the death with Hector. And again, he wins. He can't lose. He cannot lose. It's like no matter what he does, no matter who he goes up against, no matter what kind of a battle he's in, he's going to come out on top because he's Achilles and he's a badass. Like RR said, Achilles is a badass. He's a badass. And then he runs into something he does not expect. You remember what that was?
I'm sorry, I was caught reading about some of his training and who he was trained under. The centaur Charon
was
one of his trainers and helped him learn to fight. He had a couple friends that he befriended and used one of them as a role model. I cannot pronounce their names, otherwise I would try. Maybe I need to go to Greece for a little while and figure out how to speak the dang language, because this is just nuts. Achilles is associated with a lot of them. No, go ahead.
And it was Hera that, because she alludes to Thetis in Argonautica, that he'll either die an old man and known by no one, or he'll die at Troy and be the greatest warrior the world has ever known.
Right. Okay, realizing that the Trojan War was fast approaching and fully aware that her son was still destined to die in battle, Thetis resorted to an unusual tactic. Here we go again. Same type of thing that we had with the other, with Odysseus. To keep Achilles safe, she disguised him as a girl and hid him from the court of the king. Okay, and it was some... Oh, we go back to Odysseus. He figured out how to... He thought pretty sure he knew who it was, and so... Let me see. He learned the whereabouts and tricked him into uncovering his identity by either, there's a couple different stories of how this works, by either disguising himself as a peddler and selling jewelry and women's clothes, or feigning an attack of the Skyros, another Greek word, Skyros. In the first, Odysseus included a spear among the goods, and of course all the women of the court went for, according to the story, went for all the jewelry and clothes and everything. And Achilles saw, ooh, this is a cool spear. And so he said, oh, yep, that's the guy we want. In the latter, everyone but Para fled the scene. There was a big commotion with the attack of these Skyros, and Achilles didn't run. He's like, all right, bring it on. Where all the women left, and Odysseus says, "Yeah, we got our man." So he was left uncovered.
Well, one of the things I'm reading right here is that some of the sources before, I have no idea how to name this guy either. Pantheon is part.
Your guess is as good as mine.
21 of the Pantheon hero Asteropus challenged Achilles by the river Scamander. He cast 2 spears at once and grazed Achilles' elbow. Also, in the oldest depiction of Achilles in a painting, it shows that he was pierced by arrows in his chest and does not show an arrow going into his heel at all. So whether that was added later, a lot of this talks about whether that was added after the fact, that she dipped him in the river Styx, or that was something that was being told, during it. Was this hero just so badass they had to come up with a story worthy of, a birth story worthy of how just kick-ass he was?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, there are just so many different sources of material. And each one of these that we've talked about, we're giving you one side of the story. There are also statues that will depict them differently. Like you said, there's paintings or statues or different things where they show up in archaeological digs or poems or different things, and it's all slight variants. And who knows, over time, maybe there was some actual people that were really almost superhuman-like, and legends built up around them. And then they associated them with gods, and they started pinning all these miraculous things to them that never actually existed to begin with.
So of course, in the Trojan War, he beats Hector. They use the Trojan horse to get past the walls, which no one could get past. These, the walls were impenetrable, and he ends up dying in the battle to take Troy.
And it wasn't just a chance. It was the king's son, who was basically a moron,
Yeah.
who shot an arrow at him, who couldn't hit a barn door, but Achilles had already pissed off Apollo.
Yep.
And Apollo said, nah, that arrow's going to hit him right there. Boom. And that was the end of Achilles.
And of course, the brother, the moron, being the man who took Helen.
Right.
So he gets Agamemnon's wife, or no, it wasn't Agamemnon, it was his brother. I can't ever remember his brother's name. Agamemnon's brother takes this guy's wife, takes her back to Troy. She becomes Helen of Troy. He starts the whole thing. His brother Hector fights Achilles. Hector loses. And then he ends up killing Achilles with a stray arrow shot when he couldn't hit a sign on a barn door.
Okay, I got the two stories right here. I just found them. And I'm able to enlarge the print just a little bit. Although predicted by Hector, with his dying breath, the death of Achilles is not narrated in the Iliad. However, as predicted, it does occur relatively soon after Hector's death. Paris, Hector's cowardly brother, that's the name of the guy, managed to kill the greatest of the greatest heroes with an arrow hitting Achilles' heel, the only vulnerable part of his body. Poisoned or not, the arrow was most certainly guided by the god Apollo, since Paris was not an archer of renown. Thus Achilles paid dearly for disobeying his mother's wishes and killing Tennis. That's how he pissed off Apollo's killing Tennis. All right, and here's the story that I brought up earlier. We actually got it here. One of the shades that Odysseus encounters after descending into the underworld in Homer's Odyssey is the one of Achilles.
Oh,
apparently,
Achilles.
It was Achilles.
Okay.
Yep. Apparently some kind of minor ruler of the dead souls in the region. Upon realizing this, Odysseus admires Achilles for being blessed in death as much as he was in life. And here's the saying, "If I could choose," replies Achilles memorably to this, "I would rather be a paid servant in a poor man's house and be above ground than a king of kings among the dead." So Achilles liked being alive, even though he was doing well in the underworld.
Yeah, he still wanted to be alive.
Right.
The thrill.
Right.
And they did a really good job about that. They did a really good job about that in the movie Troy. I know I heard a lot of bad things about that. Troy bad. And then I watched it. I was like, dude, this is badass. You know, the first time you see him, they're waiting on him to fight this guy and this challenger. And they send this kid to run and get him. And the kid runs in his tent. And you see like 3 asses up in there. And he's like, I don't know. And he starts hitting them. And it's girl. And he hits the other one and it's girl. And he hits the other one and it's Achilles. And Achilles gets up. He's like, what? And he's like, they're waiting for you on the field of battle. And he's just a warrior. It's what he does. He kills. And it's very, very definitive in that movie that this is what you're good at. This is what we want you to do. And he doesn't want to follow orders. He just wants to fight.
Right.
That's all he wants to do. He doesn't want to follow orders. He doesn't want to do what he's told. He just wants to fight. I want to fight till someone takes me out.
Now you guys will have to correct me. I don't remember the movie that well. At least the one with Brad Pitt is the one I'm thinking of. But when his buddy gets killed and he kills Hector,
It's his nephew.
do they show him dragging him around for 10 days like it says in
No.
the story that I hear? Because he was so pissed, he strapped his body to a horse and drug him until Hector's dad finally said, you know what? Whatever you want, just let me have the body back. Give us mercy.
Yep. I think he gets on a chariot and you see him drag him. I think it's been a decade probably since I've seen that movie. I think he does, but it's not for 10 days. Obviously, it's not for 10 days.
Right. Well, yeah, but it was just, it'd be a rope with a few bloody marks on it after that long. But According to the story, he was pretty pissed and kept dragging him for days.
Yeah, and in the movie, it was his nephew. It was at the beginning of the movie. You see him and this kid training with wooden swords, and they're like fighting back and forth and doing moves. And this is like his protege, his nephew, his little protege, and that's who Hector killed. That's what pissed him off so bad, and it's because Hercules or Achilles. I don't remember why, but he wasn't going to fight him, and his nephew got in his gear and went out and met him, and died. Hector killed him. And then Achilles found out what the hell he did and was like, and went and killed Hector.
That was also an excuse to bring him back, according to the story I have, bring him back to the Trojan War, because he was, in some regards, part of the story says that he wanted to be there, and the other part says that he wanted just to live to be an old man and have a happy life, which is kind of unusual, because when you think of Achilles, you think of, he's been trained by all the best to be the best, and he was the best. Well, except for Hercules, but Hercules is a half god. That was one more we wanted to get into.
Yep, and he before we go into Hercules, if I remember correctly, he did not get along with Agamemnon, who was leading the Trojan army, or not the Trojan army, but the Greek army.
Right, no, because Agamemnon tricked him to come back in. He was trying to hide, and of course, I personally like the spear story, because if I was ever disguised like that and I saw a real nice shiny blade, if you saw the library I have here, man, I got blades all around me. You'd be like, oh man, and I got to check out the craftsmanship of that,
Yeah, I've got a actual samurai that was made in Japan. I've got that over in my corner by my chair. I've got the Conan swords. I've got a nice little collection, some daggers here and there.
There you go. Birds of a feather.
Yes, sir. So before we close shop, I want to talk a little about Hercules. A lot of people know a lot about Hercules, so I don't want to go into everything about Hercules. Obviously, son of Zeus, super strong, but I wanted to talk about the labors of Hercules. 12 labors.
He had so many different stories about him. The first original 10 were he had to kill a Nemean lion. He had to kill the Lanacean Hydra.
Yep.
He had to capture the Carnelian hind. I don't know what a hind is. I should look that up. Capture the Erymanthian boar. Yep. He had to clean the stables of Aegis in one day, and that was kind of a cool story.
Weren't they like in the sky? They were in the stars.
And they were massive. It was like 3 cities worth, and he basically redirected a river to wash it all out. He had to kill the Staphylian birds. He had to capture a Cretan bull. He had to steal the mares of Diomedes. And let's see, number 9, he had to steal the girdle of the Queen of the Amazons. That might have been fun.
Oh, yeah.
And then there'd be a lot of scars after that. And he had to steal the cattle of the monster Geryon. That was the original 10. After Hercules had completed the last of these 10 labors, Epiphanes gave him 2 more, since, in his opinion, the 2nd and the 5th couldn't actually count as being done by Hercules himself. The hero killed the Hydra with the help of, Iolaus, and cleansed the Ergonian stables by rerouting the rivers of Alpheus and Peneus. So talk about a dirty stable, man. Need 2 rivers to clean that up. Either way, that's a Greek story. The last 2, steal the apples of the Hesperidian, and to capture the Cerberus, which only Hercules could. Only Hercules could have done that.
I always loved this story about the Cerberus, how he went and captured and brought back Cerberus. You're talking about it's like a pit bull with 3 heads. You're just like, yeah. big evil dog with 3 heads that, guards the underworld for Hades.
I always, and it wasn't a surprise because, J.K. Rowling steals a lot of her stuff from a lot of different sources. But in one of the Harry Potters, there was the 3-headed dog guarding the path down, and I thought, that's Cerberus.
Cerberus.
Big, 3-headed, massive dog. It's Cerberus. She picked it off.
And she did, a lot of the stuff, the hippogriff and the what were they? They were like almost representations of death. The soul stealers. I can never remember their names. Not
Dementors.
Dementors, yes, the Dementors, and it connects British mythology with Russian mythology, with Greek mythology, with every aspect of mythology. You can find bits and pieces of it spread out in the Harry Potter books, in J.K. Rowling's book. So much so
now, to be
that,
fair, a lot of people do that. They take other stories and embellish, but that one just like, that's a little too blatant there for me. 2-headed would have been cool. Maybe a chimera of some sorts.
oh, that would have been sweet, dude. I love chimeras. I always thought the chimeras were badass. And she did that enough that she got sued a couple of times.
I didn't know that.
She directly lifted out of a couple of different Russian mythology books and a couple of other things. And she won it. She won the fight. She won the fight in the end. But they wanted some of that Harry Potter money, man.
Right. Maybe they thought it was one of the same thing like they did with Star Trek. There's certain amount of things that are common to sci-fi to where you can't claim it with what's it? Oh, gee, Anas and his story.
Anas, yes.
CBS is trying to say, oh, this is pretty much common everywhere, which we're getting off track.
Yeah, I absolutely feel horrible that happened to him. Absolutely. He is a wonderful, he's got a wonderful game. He's a wonderful person. I don't know if you've ever talked to him or not. I did a little bit 4 or 5 months ago. Absolutely great guy. Anas.
Cool.
All right, guys. Is that it for the Greeks?
There's a lot more Greeks that we could have gone into, but obviously I struggled tonight. I'm sorry, but I think we should move on because we got a cool subject for next week.
Yes, we're going to talk about, guys, next week we are going to talk about ancient ale, wine, spirits, anything we can come up with that can get you drunk, we're going to talk about it. And it all has to do with the old ways, like turning bread into beer.
There you go.
Absolutely. The Hebrews were big about that, drinking that barley.
Right. We could save all that for next week, except I want one quote. Benjamin Franklin. You guys probably know this one. Let me see. Oh, gosh. No, I had it in my head now. Oh, it tells you how tired I am. Beer is evidence that there is a God and that he loves us.
Yes. Hell yes. Mead is made from honey, Robert Pearson. Yes, sir. And I've had some good mead back in the day. I've had some really good mead. Honey mead, man. Have you ever had any honey mead, Adega?
Well, this is going to be a fun week for me next week because I have never had a single drop of alcohol except one time by mistake. I had bought some nutmeg, not realizing it was pre-mixed, and I was nice and warm and fuzzy.
Oh, hell.
But no, I have this problem. I'm half Indian and I'm half Irish, and you guys hear me make jokes, Native American and this, that. It's very easy for me to get addicted to anything, literally. And so if there is something that can cause serious problems, smoking, alcohol, womenizing, that type of thing, I have stayed away from it because I know the dangers of it. Right now, some of you know, because of the cancer, I've been drinking Red Bull to keep myself awake. Otherwise, I would be sleeping all the time. Well, I'm addicted to the dang stuff, you know? And you would think I would be dead. My heart would explode by how much of this stuff, but it's the native and the Irish combined. Man, I could tolerate anything and become addicted to it. So, no, I haven't.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. With me, it's the Italian and the American Indian. Yeah. It's the Italian American Indian, because I get into that drink. I can handle it, but man, if you piss me off, I'm the evilest son of a bitch in the world if I drink. So I try and stay away from it.
Yep, I love to fight. Absolutely love to fight. That's the Irish. The Native American side will win the fight, but man, I'm too lazy to do it.
Oh man! All right, guys. Thank you again so much, Purple Lady, Chef Zilla, Heirs of Chaos, Darth Haster, Kronos. Man, I know you got to hear me here at the end, but thank you so much for being here. Tell Maximilian I said yo. Robert Pearson, RR, Chef Zilla, Chris Persia, Hail Brother, Lady Miss, Spike and Madness. I don't know if I'm saying any of these over again or not, but
do it anyway.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lady Bist, for being here. Thank you. I love getting to do these. I absolutely do. Anytime I get to work with Adega, and I said Adega, I absolutely love it. It is a real treat.
Being generous tonight.
Trey from Max
Something
World.
must be tickling his fancy.
So you guys take care. You all have a great night, and we will see you tomorrow morning for Mornings of Mischief. I'm going to play the outro, and I'm working on another one of these, so I know it looks kind of fuzzy, but you'll have a better one soon. Thank you again, Adega.
Hey, you know what? This is fun. Even when I'm stumbling and babbling and making you look really good because I look like a moron, I still have fun.
You can never look like a moron. It's classic.
I did tonight.
See you later, everybody.